Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I had a kind of pre-brewed me a little coffee as I was starting up, and I wondered because coffee doesn't bother me at all. Like I could literally drink the darkest roast, heaviest coffee, and then go to bed within 20 minutes of finishing that coffee or an hour of finishing that coffee. So I wondered how many of you are like me and can drink coffee any time of the day. Kind of wondering if coffee was a thing for night or that wasn't a thing in your world. And if you sort of choose and pick when you have your coffee, or like me, any time is coffee time. Uh, I mean, if anything, any hot drink is kind of like a soothing drink to me. Yeah, Warren is saying 24/7 as well. Same to me, it doesn't matter when I drink coffee. The flip of that that doesn't work is I can't just simply drink coffee to be awake because this thing doesn't keep me awake at all. Like I said, I could drink this and be sleeping in like 20 minutes time. Oh, there's Rachel. Yeah, Rachel says coffee after 3 is equal to no sleep. Yeah, that's similar to what I hear from Priya in terms of her coffee experience. Yeah, yeah. I think it's one or the other, right? The other is cilantro, I guess, or coriander. Coriander, cilantro. Some people absolutely love it. I guess most of the people from my part of the world, which is subcontinent India, or just generally the Indian subcontinent, just such prevalent use of cilantro in our food prep that we grow up eating that and it becomes part of our system. But then a lot of people here, that's the first time I ever heard somebody say that cilantro tasted like soap to them. And then it turns out that it's not just a geographical thing, it might be something to do with human taste development thing. And yeah, cilantro could taste like soap to you, or you could be like me who loves cilantro in almost anything, and I'll have cilantro in it. Oh, cilantro is a genetic thing. Not just a taste bud thing, says Heather. Heather says, I love it. Recessive gene, same with the bitter taste of brassic vegetables. What's brassic vegetables? I have no clue what brassic even means. There, we've just pulled Heather away from dinner into full-on typing mode. Oh, okay. Brussels sprouts, kale. Cool, cool. Well, since we are asking questions, how many of you are 25K or 35K Air Canada Elite members? I mean, great if you're 50K and above, but I'm wondering specifically anybody on the call here that's 25K or 35K. So Warren types in 25K because there's this concept of, not concept, this idea of having at least 25K status gives you certain baseline benefits while you're traveling with Air Canada. And the reason I asked that is particularly to do with our first sort of news item that I wanted to talk to. So let's just dive right in there. Air Canada is changing. Oh, sorry. Rachel is 25K as well. Jason is here. Jason says 50K, probably going to lose it. Get 25K via Bonvoy. Oh, that's true. I forgot about that 25K via Bonvoy. Yeah, that's a great perk. So yeah, the reason I'm asking you about your 25K or 35K elite status is because of the news item that kind of took me by surprise because it came out of nowhere last week, was that Air Canada was changing their complimentary bag benefit for elite members, and particularly, so starting 1st of February next year, so 1st February 2026, 25K members will see their current benefit, which is the free baggage or complimentary bag benefit, sort of reduced and restructured. Essentially, what they're doing is they're tying it to the fare type. Um, so let's talk about what's happening for the first little bit with 25K members. Basically, what's going to happen is it depend. Even though you have your 25K right now, if you have 25K, you are allowed up to two complimentary check bags. Starting February 1st, 2026, you will be allowed one free check bag under that 25K benefit. If you have 25K status, you get one free bag, and that gets tied into your fare type. So if you buy a basic fare type that doesn't allow any complimentary check bags, then you're basically relegated to having one free check bag only. Of course, if you then also have a co-brand credit card with Air Canada, then you get your second check bag as well. And there's a cap of two, maximum two check bags in this new sort of changed policy that's coming up February 1st. So for 25K members, I think it's a bit of a devaluation. I suppose they're trying to optimize how much money they're making through this benefit or how much money, I guess, they're losing out of extending this two bag benefit. So, regardless of what kind of fare type you buy, so say you bought a flex fare, which allows you up to two bags anyways, then your 25K is not going to get you a third bag for free because there's a two bag cap on that entire benefit. So, regardless of your status or anything else, the max you can get is two free bags, no more than that, which is a bit of a bummer if you were keeping your 25K status, particularly to enjoy a couple of additional check bags if that was what you were looking to do. Um, on the flip side, if you have 25K status and 35K status members now, if you're flying on United or Lufthansa or Swiss, uh, and there's a couple more airlines or partner airlines, then you get enhanced benefits. So you get that same idea, additional bag benefit, one more based on what you bought a fare from, say, a Lufthansa or a United. So you get to extend your baggage benefit with partner airlines or a couple of partner airlines anyways, United and Lufthansa. And when I say Lufthansa, it's the entire Lufthansa family, which includes Swiss, Austrian, couple more. Um, so yeah, that how do people feel? Those that have the 25K benefit or those that have particularly tried to maintain 25K status either through the Bonvoy program or themselves through a credit card or through what's it called, the everyday EDQ qualifications. What's your immediate reaction to this? Is this a big sort of setback to your plans when you fly Air Canada? Do you particularly buy basic fares? I hope not. Even if you buy standard fare, you have one bag included, and then your 25K brings in a second bag. But then that's the cap. And I'm wondering what the immediate reaction is for this points community that every now and then most of us do travel economy and we are purchasing our tickets. So now your bag benefit is kind of tied to that fare bucket as well. Heather, much like you, Heather is saying I don't bring bags. Much like you, I'm not a check bag person, so it's not a big deal to me. Um, I mean, I'm 50K right now. I think I'll be okay and may qualify for 50K, if not for 35K with next year's requirements. So I should be okay. But I feel like a lot of us in this community try and at least maintain that 25K through the everyday elite qualifications. For some of these soft perks, as I call them. And unfortunately, the softer perks are also being eroded a little bit going in next year. Jason says Air Canada is softening the blow with free booze on all flights. Yeah, you could look at it that way. Actually, that free booze on all flights was announced maybe last year. The new news that Jason is alluding to, which is free snacks and drinks for everybody on all flights and economy, is being extended to to sun destinations, basically Mexico, Caribbean included, which is fantastic. So any place that had any sort of route or distance that had drink service, now you will get premium snacks, premium drinks, not premium drinks, premium snacks, free drinks, including beer, wine. Uh, yeah, so fantastic. And that's what Jason's poking fun at, that maybe that's where they're trying to save some money on the check bag side to fund the other stuff. We can thank Porter Airlines, says Warren, 100%. And I keep saying this competition does great things. And since Porter has entered this entire market and really shaken it up with economy travel being a little bit better and elevated for everybody, everyone from WestJet to Air Canada have had to adjust their offerings here in Canada, in North America, and we are now seeing Air Canada even go a little bit further and include the Caribbean routes as well, which is again fantastic news for everybody, regardless of you using Porter or Air Canada for positioning flights or a flight directly to sun destinations wherever you're headed. So you're right, Warren. Lots to thank Porter for. Yeah, Heather says Porter's influence. Um, did I miss any comments here? I don't think so. Yeah. Um, So yeah, that 25K thing was a bit of a bummer, and I think more and more people will realize what that means for them going past February. Because right now, the good thing is that change will not impact this busy travel season that's coming up between now leading all the way into the winter holidays, and then mid-January or whatnot. So starting February 1st, 2026, 25K members will have a bit of a restructure, or that current benefit will be eroded a bit because they won't get two bags at all times. It'll be based on the kind of fare they purchase, because that benefit is now going to be one free bag as a 25K member. And for those of you that every now and then, kind of like myself, book United or Lufthansa flights, then the good news is even if you're 25K, you can bring your free bag benefits when you're flying a United flight or a Lufthansa flight, which is fantastic. That crossover benefit is really good. Sticking to Air Canada news, Air Canada has also announced a decent schedule of Maple Leaf Lounge renovations and timelines and what we can expect, particularly from Montreal being one of the bigger hubs. So, Montreal Maple Leaf Lounge, the domestic one, is now closed for the next 3 months for redesign and modernization. And in the meantime, what passengers can use on the domestic side is the Air Canada Cafe, and of course, Air Canada Cafe opened recently as well earlier this year. And the second option will, of course, be for 50K members or above, can also use the new Amex Aspire Lounge, which is on the domestic side as well. With the two sort of newer lounges, I think it'd be well worth your time, even if you are flying international out of Montreal, to give yourself a little more time. Go into the Amex Lounge on the domestic side, because remember, in Montreal, domestic to international is just a long walk across the corridor when you cross over on the international side. So as you clear security, instead of turning left for your international flight, you just turn right. And you'll be able to go and check yourself into the Air Canada Cafe or the new Amex Aspire Lounge in Montreal. So a great way to check out both of those lounges on your next trip, uh, whatever that next trip is for you coming through Montreal. The good news in this situation is that the Montreal Maple Leaf Lounge is shutting down just for 3 months, and given the timeline of the shutdown, I don't think we'll expect a major overhaul in terms of redesigning the lounge or expanding anything. I think it'll be more in line with what they have done in LAX and a few other airports around in the US, where it'll be modernized. Think about power outlets, think about USB cords, a few touches here and there, a few extra seating, new furnitures, of course, because if you've been to the Maple Leaf Lounge in Montreal before it shut down, it still was rocking some of the old school absolute red or beige sofas, which were really worn up. So I'm glad that they are doing it and doing it fairly quickly. The turnaround is 3 months, so it's fantastic. The other launch that's shutting down, unfortunate timeline on that, because I think that's going to be a deeper sort of redesign, is going to be Halifax. So YHZ, so YHZ, Halifax is now shut as well. And that timeline right now is saying early 2027. So unfortunately, Halifax International Airport will now be without an Air Canada Maple Leaf Lounge for more than 1 year, which is not ideal for passengers that are going through that airport. So yeah, early 2027. But uh, things are not as dire if you skip over to the West Coast, because Air Canada has also announced a brand new Air Canada Cafe that's opening kind of imminently, because it says fall 2025. So I think by November we should be able to hear something about the opening of that new Air Canada cafe in Vancouver, and it'll be on the domestic side to begin with. They've also announced a second Vancouver Air Canada cafe, which is scheduled to open early 2026. So fairly quickly, one in fall and one, I'm assuming, Q1 of next year. So two Air Canada cafes coming up in Montreal, and sorry, in Vancouver. And I won't be surprised if that second cafe is coming up uh, on the transborder side in Vancouver. And because that's exactly what's coming up for Montreal as well. Montreal is going to get its second Air Canada cafe after the domestic one, which is now open. They will also get a trans-border Air Canada cafe as well. Um, what's the timeline on that? I forget the timeline, but that's coming up fairly soon as well in 2020, later in 2026. So yeah, lots to look forward to. I'm a big fan of the Air Canada Cafe, to be very honest. I mean, with my limited interactions in Toronto, that has now become my go-to. I in fact don't bother going into the Maple Leaf Lounge as a 50K member or as a reserve card holder. I rather just go into the Air Canada Cafe, even when it's super busy and packed. The quality of food and drinks are a little bit better. Sometimes I've gotten the grab and go options in a nice little brown bag, or I go straight to the bar for a handcrafted cocktail or a coffee or a barista made coffee, grab something on my way out, and I'm, out and doing my thing, as opposed to worry about lining up in Maple Leaf Lounge. Sometimes it's super packed, you don't get a spot to sit. Uh, I'm just talking about Toronto, particularly. So for Toronto, the Air Canada Cafe has been my go-to for a couple of years now, and I don't see why that would be any different once the Air Canada cafes open up. I mean, the Montreal one is already open. I don't know what the reception's been like, but I've not heard anything bad about the cafe just yet. The food options seem to be pretty good. Folks and friends that have been through that cafe have only spoken good things about that cafe. So yeah, things are looking up on the Air Canada Cafe front, and we are noticing this pattern even with the U.S. airlines, right? I think it's American has started their own grab and go kind of lounge concept. United has announced a couple of their own. So this concept of smaller grab and go areas might be better suited, especially during the peak hours when there's so many people, especially business travelers and leisure travelers at certain times when the confluence of the two groups happens. It brings about a lot of pressure on a single isolated lounge. So having an Air Canada cafe complement the Maple Leaf Lounge is a good way of doing it. Yeah, Rachel says the barista coffee drinks. Yep, Rachel, exactly. Anthony says, same if I fly domestic, way better than Maple Leaf Lounge. Love the barista bar. Yeah. And Farzan is here. Farzan says, is the Aspire Lounge in Montreal on the domestic or international side? It's on the domestic side. I saw an international Aspire Lounge mentioned in Priority Pass too. Oh, maybe there's an international Aspire Lounge on the wait. The international Aspire Lounge on the Priority Pass side. I think Priority Pass already uses National Bank and the Air France, right? The Air France one. Maybe they're talking about that. Or is it an Aspire Lounge, Aspire Lounge? I haven't seen an Aspire Lounge, or maybe there's something new coming up and we just don't know, perhaps. But I I can confirm that this Air Canada cafe and the Aspire Amex Lounge that has opened up, both of them are on the domestic side in Montreal. And I think the Aspire Lounge, if I'm not mistaken, is not far from where the Tim Hortons or the Maple Leaf Lounge doors are. So around that same vicinity, around gates one, two, three, in that neighborhood, is where you'd be going on the domestic side. So as soon as you cross security, hang right, continue towards domestic side gates one and two, and you should see the Aspire Lounge doors on your left-hand side. Just past that, there's a restaurant, I think, and then something else, and it's on your left-hand side, just around where the Maple Leaf Lounge doors are. Yeah, let's pivot and talk a little bit about a couple of other news items that lead very much into what I wanted to spend time on today, which was talking about Porter Airlines, and we've already seen a few comments in the chat which lean towards the love people have for Porter Airlines, or the growing love people have for Porter Airlines, and what it has done to competition here in North America, or here in Canada at least. So let's talk about the new codeshare partnership. So American and Porter launched their new codeshare partnership earlier this week. Um, and that codeshare, what does codeshare partnership mean to you? So basically, think about it this way: if you were flying from, I don't know, if you wanted to fly so you were a Porter member, and you like your flying Porter and whatnot. Right now, if you go on the website, you can only do Porter routes. But now with this codeshare partnership, you can add multiple legs going, the first leg being Porter, the second leg being American, or you can go from Porter all the way through to Florida, for example, to Miami or Fort Lauderdale, and then connect onwards on an American international flight and fly, I don't know, American business class or whatever else from there to the huge network that American has, global network. So it really ties in the two airlines together, and you are able to build much fuller and better itineraries in a single ticket. So instead of doing two separate tickets, you can now do your entire multi-leg itinerary consisting of Porter and American all in one place, and you can purchase these tickets either on American side or on Porter side, one way or the other, depending on which miles or which points you like to earn. The good news in that announcement was also the fact that they have mentioned that a full loyalty program integration is coming soon. And the last time we saw this implementation process with Alaska, it really did take them 6 to 8 months to deliver on that. So I'm assuming now that they've announced it, we can hopefully see something by spring, if not into summer. But tied to this codeshare partnership, they also announced new routes out of Porter announced new routes out of Ottawa, Vancouver, and Montreal. And so we saw Ottawa and Vancouver, particularly, getting a direct connection on Porter to Phoenix. Ottawa got Ottawa, Phoenix as well. Ottawa also got Ottawa, Miami, which is fantastic. Um, the reason this is a result of the code share is because both Phoenix and Miami are hubs for American Airlines. So it's fantastic because then again, like I said, even when it came to redeeming, if when the loyalty program is ready, or if you wanted to use your Atmos points, Atmos miles, to book this Porter plus AA kind of ticketing, you can do that now because say out of Ottawa, I could go to Ottawa, Miami, Miami onwards somewhere on American if I wanted to. So yeah, just getting hubs sort of connected is very important, and this announcement was really good on that regard. One slightly away from this code share announcement was the Montreal Bahamas, which is again, Porter had already announced Bahamas connections from Toronto and Ottawa, direct flights to Nassau. So they're just extending that to Montreal as well. So now Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, all three get direct flights to the Bahamas, which is amazing. And they have expanded their winter schedule to almost daily flights out of all of these three places. There's a whole bunch of expansions to the winter flights that were announced, including the ones to Liberia, Costa Rica, a bunch of places in Mexico, including Cancun, Puerto Vallarta, Nassau, Bahamas. So yeah, really, really good announcements, all of this through that bigger network. So it's been fantastic to see this network continue to grow in a more meaningful way. And I've mentioned this before, as an Ottawa resident, super happy to see that Porter is taking the steps that well, Air Canada just did not for many years. And I'm glad one of the Canadian airlines is now serving this city a lot better than the others. Anthony says, love that Porter can be booked with Alaska and now American Airlines. Not yet, Anthony, but yes, the American one is coming. Hope luggage can be booked all the way through as a positioning flight with the partnership. Yeah, and the answer is yes. One of the biggest things with codeshare partnerships is the access to luggage. So you just book it. I mean, when you check in your luggage in your first airport, it'll take you all the way through to your destination, be it an interline or a codeshare partnership. Codeshare leans heavy on the booking and ticketing, but also covers that interline kind of agreements that these airlines can have, which will allow you to check your bag all the way through to the final destination. Oh, you're asking something a little bit different. So the question Anthony was asking was, hope luggage can be booked all the way through on a positioning flight with the partnership, like Porter from Toronto to Montreal, and then Q suites to Doha and beyond. Um, can somebody check if Porter has a codeshare partnership with Qatar? I think they do. I know, yeah, they do. Sash is, hey, Sash. Sash has chimed in. Yeah, so if they are a codeshare partner, Anthony, you will be able to check your bags all the way through, including that Q suite onwards, is what, if that's what you're looking for. Absolutely. And that's a great example. I wasn't even thinking sort of domestic connections. So yeah, you could, you could well do that. Toronto to Montreal onwards to Q suites checked all the way through for sure. Jason says, would be nice for the World Cup next summer as well. And I'm assuming this is the talk about Porter partnerships or redemptions. So, yes. Rachel says, Ottawa, Miami is my personal happy place. Aw, Rachel. The number of Atmos I have spent on Ottawa, Fort Lauderdale is too many, and Miami is way closer to P2's apartment. Of course, that's awesome. In this case, Rachel's P2 is down in Miami, so they're able to do these direct flights as opposed to going to Fort Lauderdale and then trying to get from Fort Lauderdale to Miami, which is not a lot, but again, it's that annoying distance of 45 minutes from Fort Lauderdale. Actually, have you, Rachel, you or has anybody else tried their Brightline service, the train service that runs? I think it does connect Fort Lauderdale to Miami, but I've wondered, it looks nice on videos and such. I was watching somebody's video, one of the YouTubers that does a lot of the trains and stuff. And Brightline looked really nice. And I looked at their pricing and things like that. It looked really nice. I just don't know how convenient or inconvenient it is to get from, say, a Fort Lauderdale airport to the Brightline station. And, after getting into Miami, how far is it from the city and whatnot? So if you've done Brightline, let me know. Oh, Rachel's saying it's great, but only cheap if booked in advance. So I don't know. Usually flights can be delayed. Yeah. Oh, Jesui says when you travel on a single ticket with Porter and Qatar Airways. Yes. Okay. So that's the answer to Anthony's question, but I'm sure they can check your bags even on separate tickets. That one is always up to the agent, to be honest, Ojasvi. And I know we've discussed this here before as well with tickets to India and whatnot. This two separate tickets, I don't take it as a guarantee that every airline will be as willing, even if it's on the same airline. For example, sometimes when you've booked two separate tickets, some agents are, uh, the system will only print out that first leg, especially if you're connecting out of, say, a US or whatnot, and they want you to do. So I would say that statement comes with a caveat that even on separate tickets, uh, luggage can be booked all the way through. It really leaves a lot to be desired from the agents at the desk. Heather says it seems they have an interline agreement, not a code share with Qatar. Interline should still cover your luggage, Heather. So I think we should be okay in that example of um, Toronto to Montreal and onwards to Q Suites. So you should be okay there, as long as it's in a single ticket, as Ojasvi mentioned. Oh, Rachel says, love Brightline, though I've done Miami to what's MCO? Oh, the other place, Orlando, round trip. Yeah, thank you. The other place. The reason I pay the least attention to MCO is because that to me is going to Disney and all of that is that's out of MCO, right? And I've stayed away from that actively. Not because Disney is bad or anything. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's not for me. Crowds are not for me. So I have never felt a fascination to go to MCO or Orlando to begin with. But I'm sure there's a lot more to Orlando than just Disney. What do I know? Ojasvi says, I've checked bags through on a separate tickets many a time, so it's definitely possible. Oh, 100%. It's possible. If an agent refuses to do so, they're incompetent. Agreed. Agreed, Ojasvi. I'm just saying that the agents have to agree to do it. They're not obligated to do it. Yeah, Rachel says, I just love Disney and Universal myself. I'm one of those people. Hey, I have enough of those people in my uh, in within my network of friends who are full adults and have gone to every Disney out there. That's basically one of the things they love to do. They hop around Disney locations around the world when they travel. Each their own. It's fun. As long as it's fun for you and you can make a good experience out of it, why not? Christian says Cape Canaveral, go see SpaceX. Oh, that's true. Is Orlando the closest to Cape Canaveral? Okay, so Alex is saying, I haven't studied Porter too much, but to me it seems Porter is great for folks in Eastern Canada, especially Ottawa or people flying from other parts of Canada direct to Ottawa, Toronto, or Montreal corridor. When I search for two connections from something like Winnipeg to elsewhere that has a connection at a Porter hub, the points cost didn't make sense, especially compared to WestJet points. Am I missing anything? No, you're not missing anything, Alex. I think you're right in the sense that the way their redemption works is they do it by not just the full distance, but how many segments you're flying, how many sectors you're flying with them. So if you were doing something like I don't know, Winnipeg to Ottawa, for example, direct flight, that'll cost a certain amount. Let's just say for easier math, 10,000. But if you did the same as Winnipeg to Toronto, then Toronto to Ottawa, that could be a little bit more because it's pricing based on distance and the segments as well. Um, so yeah, you're not wrong. I've seen that happen a lot, especially when you're connecting to the States. So if you do a direct flight between, say, a Toronto to a San Francisco, if you get that direct flight, great. You'll pay a certain amount, say again for easier math, 10,000. But if you did Montreal to Toronto onwards to San Francisco, then yeah, you're paying a little bit more. And sometimes depending on the distance and segments, it almost doubles it up. So it's not always the greatest in terms of its own value, which leads us sort of takes me back to let's talk a little bit about earning and then redemption. So earning Porter points particularly, I think it is the easiest. So I'll answer the first question. You're not too far off, Alex, in saying that it has become a lot easier for the Eastern hub because they have made their hubs here in that corridor, as you rightly put. Uh, there's a lot of connectivity and it's very easy to sort of go in and out, especially if you're traveling within the corridor or somewhere direct from one of these three airports, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, to say US. But if you're coming from other destinations where you have to route yourself through some of these hubs, the pricing, the redemption prices for Porter's own redemption prices can be not the best, but that's where the other redemption partners come into the picture. We'll talk about them in a second. But before we go there, how many of you have are actively using your BMO VI, VIP, VI Porter cards, the World Elite? So Porter has two cards, the World Elite version, and both of those cards are issued by BMO. Um, both of the cards are really strong cards for those that are already spending money on Porter metal, on Porter tickets. Uh, Neither of those cards are strong enough in other categories, in earning other categories, say a grocery or a transit. They do earn, I think, 2x on grocery, 2x on transit, and things like that. But it's just 2x the points. It's not the 5x or whatever you can earn with some of the membership reward points with Amex, or say a Scotia Scene Plus and use it for all the other things. Those cards are predominantly built for people that were already flying Porter for business or otherwise, uh, making those purchases on Porter website. So I think if you're doing that, those cards are amazing. Those cards come with especially the World Elite version, comes with a heap of benefits, which is basically giving you mid-tier status within the Porter program, which gets you access to, lounges, which gets you access to not Porter lounges. Porter doesn't have their own lounges, but uh, I can Dragon Passes, their partnerships, so Priority Pass and things like that. Um, Free check bags, you get more points, companion passes, all of that is rolled in. So really strong program, like I said, for those that are already spending on Porter. If this is your acquisition year, the card is still available with up to 70,000 Porter points. And to be honest, 70,000 is good enough for a round trip flight, even with the quote unquote worst dynamic pricing I've seen on their website. 70,000 is good enough for you to fly Porter Reserve, pretty much return within North America, which is fantastic. And that's the big piece is Porter is not just the service and economy, but the Porter Reserve seats or Porter Reserve it's not a separate cabin, it's same cabin. Think of it more as the direct comparison would be uh, premium economy, right? That's their version, and it's super strong. It's in my mind, like I've mentioned this before as well, Porter Reserve is slightly better than premium economy, say Air Canada, for example, but it's not business class. Sash is chiming in, says, "Love Porter Reserve, best economy seat in Canada." Yeah, and I think that's economy plus is how I would put it. Uh, and their economy service. The seats are no different. I mean, the good news is no middle seats, single aisle aircraft. Pretty much all of the aircraft is new, so you get that, and really, really good all-round service. So that is the biggest draw for those that are flying Porter, be it for positioning, be it for work, be it for leisure. With the network growing, I can see more and more Canadians leaning on Porter for their leisure flights as well. Now, this points community is very different in their behavior and their expectations, which is why I'm sort of going in circles, trying to somewhat answer what Alex was saying, that where is the value? I think value for earning Porter points or using Porter as your preferred airline lies inside the cabin, inside the service they dish out to an economy passenger or to a Porter Reserve, which is far more elevated, like I said, than flying economy for sure. I think it's a little bit better than being in premium economy in WestJet or Air Canada simply because there is no middle seat. So if it's you and two people traveling, that's really a nice little cocoon to yourself on that one side of the plane. Susan is asking, wondering when my companion pass is going to arrive too. Yeah, Susan, and let's thank you for calibrating me back into what I was talking about, which was the credit card itself and the perks associated with the credit card. What While the World Elite card and the regular Mastercard has so many perks rolled in it, all of the perks are being delivered after not at the point where you meet the spend requirements. It's taking a little while for a few weeks and a couple of billing cycles to go through. You'll have to read the terms and conditions. It can take up to a full 9 weeks, or in some cases, they're giving you the full points at the end of that first year cycle of spending. So it's not immediate. So all of your perks won't post as you meet the conditions. And that's laid out in their terms and conditions really well. So just read into that. I'm not fully aware of every little detail in there, but I know that they've laid it out in black and white that if you meet your companion pass, it can take up to two billing cycles, 8 weeks, or whatever the case might be, for it to show up in your account. So a little patience goes a long way with those BMO Porter cards. Yeah, right now those credit cards are the only ones. And uh, looking at what they're charging you, I was just playing around before going live on their website to see what the redemption rates are. When you compare the earned rates on those, so say you have a World Elite card, in this case, Heather has the World Elite card. That card already earns an additional 3 points per dollar spent on Porter Airlines. And if you have status, which this card gives you the mid-tier status, you're already earning 6x on that. So you can earn up to 9x just using that card to buy Porter flights. So given the earn possibility on Porter flights, and I say this as is, it's not on groceries, it's not on anything else. This card is particularly great for those that spend money on Porter flights. Not so great if you're not spending money on Porter flights, which makes me worry a little bit what happens to all the acquisitions past that first year, because there was a lot of enthusiasm for these big welcome bonuses. Once that goes away, I hope they keep something or bring something on that card as perks and benefits to retain people for second year or more. But I think their core clientele right now are the ones that were already spending enough on Porter flights. So yeah, when you compare the earn rates against the redemption rates, it's not awful. However, is it the best? So let's talk a little bit about redemption. Alex has already mentioned this, and I mentioned that it kind of does the British Airways kind of thing. It ties in two segments, and oftentimes will spit out, 7,000 for one segment, 14,000 for two segments if you're going between the same, even between the same distances and whatnot. So it's not always ideal. It's very difficult to spot what a sweet spot can be in that program. However, and you guys already know this, but what's the not so secret sauce of Flying Porter? Drum roll. Somebody had already mentioned this. Atmos. Alaska's Atmos program is really the sweet spot for flying Porter metal if you are after cheaper redemptions on Porter. Because right now, and I did take some screen grabs, so let me just pull up my screen grab and give you a couple of examples. And like I said, if you compare it to earn rates and the ability to earn Atmos points here in Canada, which is none. You can convert your Bonvoy points at best. If you're in the US game, then of course you can convert your membership rewards as well. And there's other Alaska cards where you can get your Atmos points. But just for the sake of comparison, I looked at it and I have this in front of me. So I looked up Toronto, Vancouver on Porter. I think I picked up 1st of March. I don't know for whatever reason. It was a Sunday, I think. So I figured that some of the low rates would show up on a Sunday. So I picked up 1st of March, 2026, and I compared that on the same day, same flight, just to see what shows up on Alaska's program versus the same flight on Porter's program. So Toronto, Vancouver on Porter program was showing 11,000 in economy. So this is obviously one-way nonstop direct flight. 11,000 in economy, 36,000 in Porter Reserve. That exact same flight, PD 305, when you redeem out of Atmos program or the Alaska Atmos program, was 12,500 points for economy. So 11,000 points with Porter, 12,500 with Alaska. But here's the kicker, only 17,500 points for that almost 5.5 hour flight in Porter Reserve. So additional 5,000, compare that to 36,000 in the Porter program. So Porter program was charging you 36,000 Porter miles or Porter points. In this case, Atmos miles was 17,500. And that's only 5,000 more than flying in economy. So fantastic. And and we've had this discussion in other forums as well. In the Atmos program, you'll see it as premium. That premium is booking directly into Porter Reserve. It doesn't call it reserve. It doesn't call it business class. It calls it premium because essentially that's what it is. It's premium economy. And that's why their program is plugging it as premium. It does book directly into Porter Reserve. So would you fly economy for 5.5 hours for 12,500 Atmos points, or would you rather fly Porter Reserve for 17,500? And I think the answer is a no-brainer. Sash is chiming in with the data points, has been using Atmos extensively for Ottawa, Toronto for 4,500 in economy and 6,000 in Porter Reserve. Yep. And great example, Sash. And I think when the program went live or when Atmos started showing Porter, I did a bunch of screenshots and shared it in the Discord channel. I think I also shared it on Instagram at the time and the Facebook. So if you scroll down and find those, I've given you lots of these examples, which were, 6,000 in Porter Reserve or 4,500 points, Atmos points for flying Porter, which is fantastic. So this is one example. So for the sake of this community, let's just compare some of the Porter Reserve rates. So like I said, Toronto, Vancouver, 36,000 points in Porter's own program or 17,500 Atmos points. Clear winner. The other one that I looked at was Toronto, San Francisco direct flight. So that direct flight on Alaska was 22,500 points in Porter Reserve. So slightly more than going to Vancouver, but 22,500 compared with that exact same flight, exact same day was 40,000 Porter points, almost double, right? So again, you see the difference there. And surcharges as well, fairly minimal on Alaska's program. So really, really good. And one more example, I thought I'd better do a multi-segment kind of thing and see what pops up. So I did Montreal to Fort Lauderdale. It was taking me Montreal, Toronto, Toronto, Fort Lauderdale, all on Porter, both segments on Porter. And on Alaska's program, reserve was 10,000 points. So Montreal to Fort Lauderdale for 10,000 points in reserve. And that exact same route with that one stop in YYZ, it was 35,000 points in the Porter program. So this is almost 3 times in the Porter program. So it's crazy that when you think about the kind of value you can get out of using Atmos miles for redemption on Porter network. So if I mean, I don't have to tell you this. Sash has mentioned it to you. I have done a whole bunch of these searches over a big period of time and seen what Atmos points can do. So I guess the not so secret sauce of being on a Porter Reserve is to use your Atmos points because 10,000 points can get you from a Toronto to somewhere in Florida, Ottawa to somewhere in Florida, Montreal to somewhere in Florida, or heck, even going from once the Vancouver Phoenix opens up, that becomes available on this. The Vancouver Phoenix network sort of route starts December, I think. Um, and then similarly, similar rates and differences, even when I was looking at Ottawa to Liberia, Costa Rica, but doing direct flights out of Porter's own program versus doing Atmos program, it was just night and day in most cases. And there was enough availability across the board that you can really enjoy redeeming your Atmos program or Atmos miles. Now, question always circles back to for a regular person in Canada, it's not easy earning Alaska points, right? So I think that's why Alaska is tempering that redemption rate, which is great for this points community because the points community has other ways of doing it. Like I said, one of the easiest ways, even if you don't dabble in uh, American credit cards, is to uh, simply transfer Bonvoy points. So, hey, look, in this case, going from Montreal to Fort Lauderdale for 10,000 points in Porter Reserve, I would hands down transfer my Bonvoy points just for this one redemption. Enough points just transfer over into your Alaska program and redeem using your Atmos program. So really good deals. So yeah, Heather says, okay, so good deals with Atmos, but where to use Porter points? And I'm not saying Porter points are bad because there's enough times that I've redeemed. So I've done a lot of Porter points redemptions in this segment. So Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, even Billy Bishop. Once the Vancouver Phoenix opens up, that might be an easier one to do. And there's Vancouver to Ottawa, Vancouver to Toronto. You can do all of those. And because it's a dynamic chart, I've seen things as low as so Ottawa, Vancouver, for sure, I've seen it as low as 17,000 Porter points one way in economy. Um, so it's a little bit more. It's not 10,000 in reserve, but hey, it's still available. You can do a whole bunch of those. And it's especially good for people that are traveling with a family because you are able to book two, three, four seats at that rate, just crossing over from Vancouver to Ottawa or Vancouver, Ottawa, going on to Halifax. Because again, once you bring yourself, kind of like what Alex was saying, once you bring yourself to one of these hubs in Toronto, Ottawa, or Montreal, you can really sort of go onwards to all the way across to the East Coast because the border network out east is really strong as well to Newfoundland, to Nova Scotia, to PEI. So there's a lot of ways of doing it. You just have to remove that bug of value because if you're seeking real value and cents per point or cents per mile kind of value, then you best ditch all of your Porter points and just use Atmos. However, there's a lot of value to be gained from a card that you've just acquired and the thousands of points that you're getting is to actually use those points and not have to pay money out, even if it is slightly more expensive than using an Atmos program. Like, you know what I mean? If the option is letting those points sit and do nothing versus worry about value constantly. So don't let the value proposition keep you away from somewhat a mediocre redemption and actually going and enjoying a place. So that's what I would say, Heather, in terms of where do you use those points. You should still go ahead and use those points, even if it's slightly more expensive than Atmos. So be it. Rachel says Aeroplan is minimum 12,500 in economy and 120 in surcharges. Under 10K if economy if lucky, but surcharges kill the value. Yeah, and also when you think about value, oftentimes people will look at the cheapest economy tickets. But if you actually had to buy an economy ticket, and if you never buy basic ticket, then don't do your value math against that basic ticket. Like I hope that is making sense, or I hope I'm making sense. Like, you know what I mean? If you were going to buy a cash ticket and you had no points in your pocket, and you're not going to buy a basic ticket. So when you are redeeming, don't do a calculation against that basic ticket because you were never going to buy that anyways. Do it against the standard ticket that you were going to buy because that's the real value. Because influencers, bloggers, and whoever will do the math in such a skewed way that it always gives you an outsized value when a route is good. And I'm not saying that value is not important. I'm just saying that don't overemphasize value when it comes to redeeming points that you already have. And that might, go to waste if you don't use them. Rachel says 100%, and you're probably not buying that cheap 6 a.m. departure either. Yeah, and that's, yeah, 100%. So always look for, when you're calculating your CPP or CPM, always look at against the cash value, not the cheapest cash value, but the cash value that you would have bought in real life. If you were going to take that 10 a.m. flight, if you're going to buy a standard fare, then let's look at the CPM or CPP value against redemptions. Yeah, so like I said, the not so secret sauce in getting yourself onto a really good Porter Reserve seat is using Atmos program. And if you are flush with Porter points through the recent acquisition of credit cards, then absolutely use those Porter points and redeem out of Porter first. Use up those points and then pivot to your Atmos. Cool. So great chat on that. And okay, so this entire thing that we've just spoken about, Atmos program on Porter, now now American has already announced codeshare partnership, and they've said the full integration of uh, earn and redeem is coming soon. So now you see why I'm excited about that American program, right? Because while Alaska Atmos miles are difficult to earn in Canada, uh, American is not. And based on the integration, based on the partnership or redemption values we've seen in with other partner airlines between Atmos and American, uh, they they go hand in hand. They're not very off from each other. Apologies for that. So if Alaska's redemption rates are anywhere close to Atmos's redemption rates for Porter, once that's available, I guess your RBC and your membership rewards in Canada becomes even more valuable to you because now you can really start converting your RBC Avion points into American miles and using them on Porter flights because the connections are going to be amazing. The routes are amazing already. And when you compare that with your, say, Air Canada or WestJet, you'll have a much better, easier access to the American ecosystem or, yeah, American miles redemption on Porter, which is why this excites me immensely, particularly for the RBC Avion points and membership rewards, more so on the Avion side than the membership rewards, because obviously membership rewards has other partners where you can get much better value. But American does a decent job, and American recently also had 10 or 15% bonus out of RBC Avion points to American, which bridge the gap closer to 1-to-1. It wasn't 1-to-1. I think uh, standard rate is 0.7 or 0.7 and brought it to 0.86 with that transfer bonus. And I transferred a bunch of those points. And if Porter was available right now, you bet your bottom dollar I'd be redeeming a bit of my American miles on Porter. But yeah, that's a great proposition. Hopefully, by next fall, it should be locked and loaded. Fingers crossed. Yeah, bird in hand, says Heather, for sure. And if you were thinking of that analogy right now, bird in hand, use Atmos. Maybe in a year from now, we'll be able to use Atmos and or American both, and you can combine or compare and see which one works best for you. So then you'll have three programs. You can have Porter's own program if you have miles sitting in there, Atmos program, and the American program, which you can then compare across the board and see which one works best for you. And in the case of American, unlike Atmos program, you have RBC Avion or Canadian membership rewards that still transfer over to American, which will make that particular program, if the rates are anywhere close to what Atmos rates are, it'll make that particular program number one for me, followed by Atmos, and then Porter to basically redeem on Porter's own metal. Well, I guess last but not least, I'll wait for your comments to come through on any of this. But last but not least, Since we are speaking about American and Alaska and the One World Network in general, right now there is a status match opportunity for those of you that may be interested. Royal Jordanian is offering a paid status match if you wanted to take a look at that. So the paid opportunity gives you access to up to One World Sapphire status through the Royal Jordanians program. I don't know what their status is called, but the mid-tier status opens up One World Sapphire, which again gives you access to pretty much most of the big lounges across the global network of One World lounges, baggage, priority services, on and on. So if you were hoping to fly American or any other One World partner in the coming months or year, this might be worth it for you. The paid price is $149, so $150 US for you to match. And if you have Air Canada 50K status or above, it'll match you to One World Sapphire status through the Royal Jordanian program, or WestJet Gold or Platinum status will also get you to that One World Sapphire status. So it's a good one. And thank you, folks. This was fun. I enjoyed it. Hope you have a lovely, lovely evening. Have a good night, everybody. Take care. Thanks, Heather. Bye, Alex. Take care. Bye, Jonathan.